In this intuitive art tutorial, I'll give you 7 reasons why I never throw out a failed abstract painting. Hey everyone, it's Chris Loud. In this video, I'll share 2 quick demos where I try to revive 2 pieces that didn't work out. Here you can see some close-up images of an intuitive warm-up painting I worked on about a year ago. So in this first demo, my thought was to go simple with some tissue paper and a very limited palette to try and pull out a few of the interesting spots that I liked. You can see the textured area in the upper left. That was a dried paper towel that had been used to wipe up paint with that I fixed onto the paper with gel medium when I originally worked on this piece. So this really had a lot of great texture before I even started to rework this one. So the colors I'm using are magenta, titanium white, and Naples yellow. Those were all colors that show up somewhere in this piece as is, but I wanted to utilize those to help pull out some of the areas that I really liked and make some of the colors, especially with the magenta, where it's very faint in some of these areas. I wanted that to pop a little bit more in this piece, in this final piece. And I'll leave links to the materials that I used in this on both demos in the description if you're interested in any of those items. So what are the reasons why I don't like to throw out failed abstract art? And as a side note, I don't really like the term failed, especially with intuitive paintings or abstract art, although I hear people use that quite often. I get a lot of comments about people throwing their art away, their bad art, and I'm using quotation marks when I say bad, or their failed art, and they get rid of them. I tend to think of these pieces as ones that just didn't work out, or sometimes a creative flop, or what I typically call them is just duds. But number 1, hidden gems. Even in those paintings that didn't work out, there are often small sections or compositions that can be cropped or repurposed or serve as inspiration for future work. Both of these pieces in these demos had areas with marks and some great color and some great texture that I wanted to try and keep and even enhance and keep in the next version. And I'll show you some close-ups of the final version here and then the final version in different orientations before we move on to the second demo. And before I forget, if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, more tutorials and demos, feel free to subscribe. And as always, if you have any feedback or questions, I'd love for you to leave me a comment. And let me know what you do with your art that doesn't work out. Okay, so here's the next painting that didn't work out. I'll show you some close-ups, some of those spots I really like, some of the textures and colors. And then I just jumped right in with some titanium white water-based spray paint and a stencil, just playing at this point, just trying to see what I could do. So number 2, these are great backgrounds for new paintings. So painting over a piece that didn't work out adds texture and depth and layers of interest to your new artwork. There's a history beneath that gives the painting character. Some of my favorite paintings that I've done have another painting underneath, or at least a different version of the painting. And then number 3, learning opportunities. Every painting teaches you something. Our duds are sometimes our best teachers, showing what doesn't work and guiding you toward what does. When we have one that doesn't work, we should try to jot down a note as to why. That might be because we're just, we weren't in the zone that day, or because we used the wrong color or the wrong brush, or we overpainted. Whatever the reason, try and understand why. And number 4, what I was kind of doing with this one, a playground for experimentation. Use these paintings to test new techniques, tools, and color palettes without the pressure of starting on a blank canvas or surface and without the fear of ruining something precious. We all have those paintings where we have one little spot that we do not want to touch. We don't have to worry about this with these. Since the original piece didn't meet our expectations, the stakes are low. You're free to experiment and embrace the unexpected. Something I haven't done yet, but I want to try, is to take one of these pieces and then combine that with one of my abstract prompts. I think that would be a lot of fun to see what would come out of that. And number 5, it's a source of inspiration. Sometimes a piece that didn't work out contains elements like color schemes or brushstrokes that spark new ideas. They serve as a springboard for future projects. They often spark fresh ideas or remind you of techniques worth exploring further. For instance, in the first demo, that was one of the first pieces where I added paper towels for texture. I've since used that technique many times with a lot of success. And number 6, these are perfect for collage work. Cut them up. Pieces of paintings that didn't work out can be turned into elements for mixed media, collages, or even as part of a new composition. And then number 7, a reminder of growth. If for no other reason, if you don't do anything more with your paintings that didn't work out, hang on to these so you can look back and take note of your progress over time. Seeing how far you've come can be incredibly motivating. I started painting in January of 2020, and I love looking back at my earlier work. So you can see that I'm just taking some plain tissue paper on this, and I'm fixing that down with some gel medium. And this is a little bit of an experiment. I always use tissue paper with some kind of print on them to get onto the piece. And this time I just decided, let's just see what that background would look like if I just put one layer of tissue paper over. But I say one layer. One of my favorite parts, or some of my favorite parts of that, are where some of the tissue paper overlaps. You can see in the upper left, there's a kind of a white line, and that's where a couple pieces overlapped. I'll show you at the end the final version, and you can see what that looks like once it's dried. But I really liked how that turned out. Very simple experiment, nothing earth-shattering, but it did kind of show me what happens if you just use blank tissue paper to kind of soften that background. And I really liked how that looked. I thought it really worked out well. But this particular piece, it had so much color in it, and I used charcoal on the original painting, and that charcoal kind of dulled, I thought, a lot of the colors. So coming back and reworking this, I think was a really good opportunity to see what I could do, but still leave some of that charcoal in there. And I'm just using a little bit of orange and a little bit of magenta to highlight some of those areas. So I'll show you some close-ups here in the final piece coming up. And just using a charcoal pencil to kind of work those borders a little bit and make some designs. And I did use a fine tip applicator to put some more border on there. And this is just a white charcoal marker, or pencil. So here's some close-ups. You can see a lot of the textures and colors, and here's the final pieces in different orientations. So thanks for watching, and keep on painting.